Nori's coming, Nori's coming.
God, he's putting on the moves for Hanser. And Nori nukes Hanser.
Nori just dunked Hanser right there.
CP, kill. Nice.
Woo! Let's fucking go!
Kill that base. Kill it. Oh shit, he can't end.
Oh.
The Nexus is falling! Phoenix 1 has done it! They have defeated TSM!
And welcome back to Toronto as you remember some of the amazing moments from the summer. And it's only about to get better as CLG upset Immortals for game number 1. Going to stop some of the early momentum. And Huhi just went off.
Yeah, that's one of his best performances ever, I have to say. That's the second highest gold per minute he's ever earned, the second highest damage per minute he's ever put out, over 1,000 by the way. Really strong performance on that Syndra, starting out with a solo kill and not stopping.
Absolutely, and it's a very risky champion as well to be playing low mobility, doesn't take a second mobility summoner, and he was able to still come out on top, got set up kind of early on, and then they snowballed and actually played around him. And it's what CLG has been trying to do for the second half of the split, and if we're seeing it now as Worlds comes around, it might be exactly what they need to make it there.
That's the thing. Yes, CLG played that really well, but Immortals need to do a better job of getting to those low mobility backline carries. Both Jhin and Syndra are very vulnerable champions, and they were not pressured.
Well, we're back into the draft for game number 2. So we've actually swapped sides if I recall correctly. So CLG now on the blue, Immortals on the red, Rumble, Tom Kent, Bard, and Siva. That's a blind guess. It is Nah. Ban's going to stay pretty consistent there, but Immortals do respect the power of that top laner.
Yeah, I actually would be, surprised if they do change up a whole bunch. I think that Immortals feel like a lot of the fixes are in-game fixes rather than champion select fixes.
And this is actually a little interesting as well because the Gnar previously was not banned, was picked by Huni, bans it away. I'm wondering what they're thinking is such a big threat here because Shen, GP, both still on the table, and Vladimir as well.
Wow.
Oh, actually, yeah. A couple of last second switches there. The GP does finally find himself, though. The threat there is just too much for the cross map. I have to say that Shen you keep bringing up, though, it is definitely still an option for CLG. Maybe Immortals actually save their counter pick for Huni because they typically put a lot of emphasis on getting the counter pick for the top lane, and maybe he'll go with something a little bit more offensive even to try and get those solo kills. Something with dive pressure.
We'll keep it simple to start things off perhaps here. CLG hover the rack side and they will lock it in. Rainova continually being denied that champion, but Xpiti showed he's also no slouch on the champion last game.
Yeah.
Don't show anything right now, just taking it away. The Sivir is something that was left up, and it's Turtle's most played AD carry, and they are going to go with Vladimir and Sivir. Great combination here, and a great pickup for Wild Turtle especially.
Yeah, something we were discussing about why Sivir is so good with Immortals and against Immortals, because yes, she does enable the Huni and Turtle playstyle where they're diving and running at them, playing extremely offensively, but if Sivir's on the other team, then it also, removes one of those disengage options from the AD carry position. So Immortals early round pick it here, no surprise. Also the Vladimir has been very, very high priority. So maybe Huni decides to place something else like the Malzahar into it, or the Cassiopeia has been something that has had success as well versus Vlad.
Yeah, if you can get him on the Cassiopeia, very big there, and especially since, they want to take the Vladimir so early on, because if it goes over to Huhi, Pobelter hasn't played Cassiopeia yet, so he might have the counter pick up for something that they had left up.
Yeah, and it definitely would fill into the same role that Huhi played last time. Really high damage champion. And looking at this front line, again, CLG are picking up the Shen. They are going with the super beefy front line, so it's going to be Stixxay and Huhi dealing deeps.
And I absolutely love this. Aphromoo, again, melee support, back onto the Alistar, and this is the engaged champion, again, trying to make some plays here. The team captain of Counterlogic Gaming, back in the driver's seat, not playing those range supports.
Well, Rainova going to change his tune actually this game as Graves and Trundle are the next few picks there for Immortals. Elise, he's a great Elise player, but he couldn't quite get the team fights going maybe. I guess Rainova's going to change that here with the big Gragas build.
Yeah, I definitely think Gragas is much better to have alongside that Vladimir, have the disengage. If you have the Elise, not really that great of a synergy, and here you get to split the team up and actually have some early pressure as well with the body slam.
Plus they have been able to save possible counter pick here. You know, a couple of flexes in there for Immortals, but Huni will get the last laugh.
Most likely, at least, is CLG actually kind of figuring out how to round out this draft as well. We kind of saw Kalista. It's a very old counter to Sivir. Maybe Kog'Maw comes in here for Stixxay. Hasn't played it too much here. And of course, he does need a champion. We're kind of expecting Mouse or Cassio, but CLG are running out of time to actually lock these picks in. How do they finish this draft?
Not with Teemo and Kog'Maw.
There we go.
Oh, what?
There's the Malzahar that we were looking for, and Stixxay has been one of the guys, the few guys, to go back to the Kalista. So many AD carries have completely given up on the champion. However, she brings a tremendous amount of objective control, as well as the ability to make early plays. After moves on the Alistar, they can go for dives repeatedly.
Yeah. High damage as well when you reach those 2 item spikes. Doesn't really rely too much on the crit, but still able to actually throw Afro move in there and have their playmaker have some type of fallback in case it doesn't work out, but also more attempts to go for those plays.
It really does look like CLG are going for another early game here. They're going to try and get early and mid-game win and hope that they don't stall out for the Sivir and Vladimir to be at their completed items.
There we go. Immortals playing games with us a bit. Adrian hovering through some of his favorite girls, I suppose, with Janna and Soraka. But there's the Echo locked in for top lane.
That was
probably.
So when I said, maybe Huni goes something more offensive that can dive, Echo's great at diving in the top lane, especially if he does get that early advantage. So that is something that, yes, can threaten the Shen up to his turret, but then also can threaten Shen under the turret. And we'll see if Immortals actually do go for that strategy, or if they try and actually wait it out and hope, build up the Sivir for the late game.
And having that Echo is something that he's played a couple of times, but it was usually always AP, one-time tank during the split, near the very beginning. And he was an early adopter of the Echo, and it was very surprising that he was not picking it up in the Cloud9 series. They were letting it go through. So seeing Huni back on things like Gnar and Echo is definitely a little bit of a change of pace here for Immortals, showing that, you know what, they know that they messed up a little bit before with how they were allocating damage, and they're trying to correct that.
And this is actually a little bit scary for me for the Immortals side of view, because Immortals don't have a whole bunch of point-and-click lockdowns for this Kalista. Yes, Echo, it can be a great team fighter if you're really good with him and you get that great timing on the W. That can be dodged. The Gragas ultimate, that can be dodged. The Vladimir can even be kited. There are a lot of moves here where CLG have possibilities of outplaying this dive, but Immortals have shown that they can play extremely precise compositions.
Well, we're certainly feeling the electricity of the crowd here in Toronto, and want to know how you at home are marking the occasion. Connect with us on Twitter at @LevelEsports using the hashtag LockedIn and share photos from your very own LCS viewing party. Show us how you LCS, and we'll feature some of your favorite photos live on the air as we move ourselves onto Summoner's Rift for game number 2. CLG up 1. Immortals, can they answer back?
Well, we're going to see in the early game, because CLG don't want to wait around. Vladimir did get the Ghost, so it's going to be a bit harder to kite. Vladimir with Ghost and Sivir on his team, plus Trundle Pillars, might provide enough for Immortals to pin down that backline.
Yeah, they're just trying to get both Huni and Pobelter into that backline. If they're able to do that, they might be able to find success on Immortal's side. But for CLG, no, they are actually in a pretty good spot. Not a lot of point and clicks for Stixxay, like you said, but a lot of this CC on Immortals, it's kind of limited, and they would want to use it on Huhi to interrupt the ultimate during a fight.
Plus, CLG also have what they have typically put the most emphasis on is cross-map plays. They have the extra teleport, plus they obviously still have the Shen stand united. This is something throughout the organization's history. They put a lot of emphasis on this cross-map control and constant pressure.
Well, we had a big game from Stixxay and Huhi there in game 1. Stixxay going to be pretty empowered here on the Kalista. Got the Shen to help him out, but we'll see what Hui's Malzahar can do against Pobelter, who now, and I think, a bit more of an offensive champion for him. I feel like Immortals have effectively shifted power sort of back to where they want it to be on Summoner's Rift. So we'll see if that adaptation for them is enough to win in game 2, or if CLG and their newfound aggression maybe comes up trumps here.
Yeah, I'm always a little bit confused when teams go for the Karma mid in matchups where she is a little bit vulnerable but does have some tools to survive, because even if you survive the matchup, are you really a big threat to the rest of the map? Well, if Vladimir survives the matchup, he's a huge threat to everybody else on the map, and Pobelter has the tools with his champion to actually run away with the game and have that late game scaling.
Well, early on, just trading melees here. There were changes to Malzahar's why he's not 100% pick ban anymore. Most of those were focused on nerfing that passive. The shield that you just saw got knocked off, but the early exhaust!
That is so aggressive, actually. If it sticks, they actually eating a lot of damage as a result. Adrian gonna get some spears popped in, pulls them out. Decent trade for CLG, but I think IMT won out. What is going on?
I actually do really like that Immortals trade there, because Adrian soaking up a lot of the damage on the Trundle, does get to heal a lot more as all the minions die around him. Still has his double Targons, and they were able to push CLG back off the minion wave a little bit, allowing Sivir to gain control, so that once Sivir does gain control of the minion wave, doesn't really let go. And they're going to try and shove him under the turret. Thankfully for CLG, for Stixxay, Kalista is very easy to last hit under turret due to Ren.
And right now, CLG are actually calling Smithy over. He just went over an Immortals ward, though. They're pinging that he should actually wrap around, but because they back off, they know he's spotted.
Yeah, look at those 2 wards right there. Those are the same 2 that the supports placed last game, and we get another good sighting of those. Scuttle Crab going over to Smithy.
And now, Rainover goes to the blue, counter jungles the Rek'Sai right now to try and actually 3-buff him.
Would be a nice move there from Immortals early game. As Rainover working on it so far, will be able to take it pretty comfortably for himself. Cooney pushing up, and Pobelter does have pressure there as well. So pretty straightforward stuff. There's a nice little move there coming out from Gragas.
Yep, this is how Rainover usually earns those little advantages. Okay, up here, going to just stop the recall. But Rainover is on that top side, and they know that Smithy was just bottom side, so that's why Hooney's staying around a little bit after his recall was interrupted. Now he knows the minion wave is also going to push towards his turret, so he doesn't have to worry about the freeze, and they'll just back off with that counter jungling being successful from Rainover.
I have to say, I've been pretty impressed with Darshan's Shen so far. Certainly working out the Spirit's Refuge first 3-hit passive thing.
And Darshan hasn't had the best of splits. Dropped out of the top 3 top laners in terms of all-star voting, and was really kind of somebody who was overlooked because his performances weren't great. And if he's able to adopt this Shen and doesn't have to play that type of carry role on CLG, it gives him a little bit more wiggle room, and he has been looking quite good on this champion.
Yeah, all of CLG have, kind of stumbled after MSI, and they've been working very hard over the season to get back to where they were. Stixxay going to work very hard to get back to his turrets. And Adrian going to do enough to delay him there, as Aframu does with return to lane and even the numbers.
Yeah, he was warding out, so good vision there from CLG, making sure the bottom side stays safe. And they've kind of done a decent job pushing the lane back in after the early trades. There'll be a lot of push and pull, it feels like, in this particular lane. And Stixxay, if you can get ahead on Kalista, you usually stay ahead. Hooney and Darshan still fighting. Dodge out of the parallel convergence is good news there for the Shen, but Hooney trying to keep the wave in his favor this time around.
Little caveat here is that Pobelter was able to gain control of that mid lane, shoved it up into the turret so that he could get the first recall. Has had time to purchase and get back to lane in time for the melees to hit his turret. So he will keep that CS lead and try and increase it here versus Huhi in the mid lane. Completely different from game number 1. This time around, Pobelter earning his place on the squad.
Up already 12 CS. It'll bounce back a little bit there, but Hooney pretty much did the exact same thing, got the corrupting potion because he was getting chunked out, and Darshan had to blow his TP to get back to lane to make sure that it wasn't frozen on him. So TP advantage right now for Hooney, but level 6 comes out for Shen pretty shortly.
I think that's been one of the nice things for Darshan. Kind of has a bit of a pillow to soften the blow there in top lane as far as TPs go. You can see Hui and Pobelter though, just the difference that game 1 was from so many games we've seen already. And even in this game, Pobelter, he just feels so much more confident and just a bit more proactive on the Vladimir in lane.
Plus, now he's level 6 on Vladimir. So much healing from the Hemo Plague, as well as every extra level in the queue. He's going to approach that sustained monster in the mid lane very quickly, and Smithy approaches Hooten.
Knock up there. It's actually level 6 now for the Echo. Might even fancy a fight. Rainover here. Hooney is buying time. He ults himself. Decent damage. Rainover needs to make it in. Darshan spots him and taunts himself to safety, but it's not safe enough. That flash just gets him out from under it.
Yep, Hooney now with the double summoner lead over Darshan in the top lane, but they're going to look to even it.
Flash up Boris. Hooney bit off a little too much. He does live, but he's forced to flash.
Strike that. Other flash burn on the top lane as well. And Hooney does burn it and get out with his life.
He does have teleport, so he'll be able to get back pretty quickly if he wants to. Don't know if there are quite too many minions that he could be able to push, but it'll just depend on if he wants lane pressure or not, or if he wants the ability to match the cross-map play that Shen could make.
All right, so that means we will keep our eyes on this bottom lane as Kalista also is approaching level 6 now. And remember the playmaking possibilities with this champion. Plus, Aphromoo being on Alistar, one of his most famous supports. Definitely a little bit reduced probability of making those turret dives happen with slightly less reduction to damage there on the early levels of Alistar's ultimate. But you can have the Alistar just WQ in there to start it off, and then use Kalista ultimate to take away the turret aggro later.
You can see some first items here on kind of both these teams. BF sold up for Sivir early versus those early boots for Stixxay, clearly favoring a lot of that mobility.
Yeah, speaking of early items, Spirit Visage is something Vladimir wants to build pretty much regardless of matchup. But into this one is going to rush up to that one pretty quickly as Pobelter is even increasing that CS lead. Here we go down bottom though.
Smithy finds him.
Yeah, in trouble. Perhaps Afro gets the knock up in. Smithy's still chasing through. Adrian's going to get exhausted. Needs to flash. Does get out over the wall, but Smithy gets exhausted as he follows. Pobelter looking for it. Smithy going to get crushed out. Damage is there, and he's first blood. The Wild Turtle.
Too greedy from Smithy. He didn't have his flash and goes over and gets caught in the top lane. They're brawling as well.
Typical. Rek'Sai tunnel vision is built into the champion.
Oh no, the Sheen from Huni starting to do some work. Darshan gonna keep it safe. Really scrapping there in the top lane, but Huni barely edges him out.
Too early on the joke. Top lane action is still going on. They're just trading though. Nobody goes down, and Darshan still does have Stand United. Did not burn it in that last incursion. I was thinking maybe that would get a little bit, more of an all commitment from the rest of the squad, but just first blood here going over to Immortals.
Yeah, it looks like they're actually just brawling in the top lane at this time. So Stand United coming out, trying to back off, see if it happens. And Puhi TPs as well to try and get Turtle, but not able to get in range. And then Smithy,
Yep, put your head down and try and go for that first blood. However, good collapse from Immortals. And remember, we talked about mid lane control last game. Mid lane control this game obviously is in Pobelter's favor. He makes the first roam with Vladimir, burns that ghost, gets there for the first blood participation, plus the cash went over to Turtle, so that's where Immortals want it, and he'll be ramping up even quicker.
Looks like a blue buff steal's gonna go awry here for Rainover. Eats the ulti out there from Malzahar, and see ya, Sunshine! That's Hui with a kill.
Oh, both jugglers invading a little bit too deep, and they give another first kill. Hui did actually grab that first, that blue as well.
Yeah, apparently both junglers have gone a little bit too far when the enemy team is actually trying to get their blue buff. Pobelter, Rainover, on that side of the map previously, and now, well, boom! And so it's like, hey, we want to hand off blue buff.
Whoa, you can't 1v1 Kalista there, especially as Sivir. Very difficult to spell shield the Ren. You kind of have to guess it, and Stixxay is going to have that chase down potential. You talked about the early upgrade there to the Berserker Greaves pastry. Any sort of alone time there, there's no reason for Turtle to ever take a 1v1. So if he does, Stixxay needs to know that there are extra people lying in the background.
Certainly both being careful there. Looks like CLG's dual lane trying to deny what CS they can. That little caster creep's not quite doing enough work. As Huni pushes in, good cancel on the recalls. Darshan gonna have to delay that back for a little while longer. You can see just how aggressive Huni wants to be. Curious to see what item he goes for, but it's just bashing him with the Sheen right now.
Exactly. Huni is just trying to go all in on this early aggression. The Dark Seal had the Corrupting Potion as his second item, and then went for the Sheen because magic resistance is built, do a little bit more physical damage during that time, and just be incredibly aggressive on it. So he's trying to carve out an early advantage for himself, and you can see by the CS, he has done that a little bit so far.
Generally true for Immortals actually in this game. Huni does ultimate himself back to lane, and that looks like Trinity Force, I think.
Yeah, Trinity Force Echo.
All right, very cute from Huni. Leasing his way back to a minion. You can see Pobelter as well, they're also ahead as CLG will collapse on the Cloud Drake.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do on that top side. Use the ultimate after you back. You get Corrupting Potion charges as well, so he'll be able to stay in the lane, not have to blow his TP. CLG on the opposite side, haven't been spotted out just yet. They're probably going to get this Drake with no problem.
Yep, and there's the Drake going over to CLG. Darshan continuing to be harassed by Huni as Pobelter maybe looking at a dive here. No, that's Smithy, never mind. Maybe he wants to cover the lane. Pobelter, though, he's doing just fine. His Spirit Visage is already finished, and you said it. There's just nothing to really worry about at this point for Vlad. He's so strong when he hits those first 1 or 2 items.
Yeah, Spirit Visage completed it's glory time right now for Pobelter. He can do whatever he wants in the mid lane. He can continuously shove the Malzahar under turret as well, it looks like, as he's really pressuring Hui. The battles right now are just over minion waves to see who will be able to move first. And there is the teleport from Darshan used to get back to lane because he has Stand United ready to answer anything across map that Huni decides to go for.
And Huni actually cleans out the wave pretty cleanly as well. It's a cannon minion wave too, so it takes a little bit longer for Darshan to get through it.
Does have a Cinder, pops the Refuge there, but actually taking quite a lot of damage. Ping's level 9, so going to be okay here as he's relatively tanky, but Huni is kind of growing a bit of a lead here. Pobel's actually going a pretty big one in mid lane there, 25 ahead. And bottom lane is even, which I think is good news for Immortals. CLG just haven't quite found the same pressure they did in game 1.
And a lot of it, Stixxay has a ton of money in his bank right now. 2,280 he's sitting on, so this is going to be a very big recall for him. Complete that Blade of the Ruin King and really come into his own with the extra kill pressure there with the dual lane. Maybe now is the break point for CLG to make the call to use Stand United on bottom lane and try and make something happen. Because remember, Hui also has teleport from the mid lane. While Pobelter can ghost and try and roam from mid lane quickly, it's not going to be as quick as the teleport coming in.
But blue buff going to get assaulted here from CLG as Stixxay did finally spend his big stack of cash and has a Rune and Hurricane built up. I imagine the build for Kalista hasn't changed too much since we last saw her.
There's always the possibility Blade of the Ruin King did get nerfed. It's one of the reasons that she started to see less play as well.
True.
You don't rush it, first item as much anymore.
Darshan and Huni still battling away. Darshan, good use again of the W, but Huni happy to trade back and forth. There's the drive resonance going to proc in. So Huni just chasing around, and he's not even quite at his first point of strength yet. As again, they'll just bash their heads together. Huni winning most of these trades though. Darshan going back in though, maybe not. Spoke too soon. Huni again wants to trade in. He's got the ulti, so it's pretty safe. And
oh no!
Huni's got to ult, but he's actually back with the wrong way. He has to keep running. Slows him down. Ulti's way to safety. Can he trick his way out? Darshan might have won the 1v1 here. Slows him down. Huni's going to flash. And there's no help. He TP's away, and it's just enough to get him out.
I think we have different definitions of safety. Huni living on the edge there. That was very risky for him, and now he's summonerless from the top lane. Before I was saying maybe now is why CLG will try and make a play on bottom lane. Definitely now they should make a play on bottom lane. Infernal Drake is coming up. They'll probably wait for that to spawn. Then they can reap more rewards from a play on bottom lane, but they need to time those summoners from Hui because those are very important, and now Darshan will have priority.
Yeah, absolutely important here, especially since that, like you said, bottom lane, they're really focusing that down. They have so much playmaking potential too from CLG in that bottom lane with the Kalista Alistar. And we saw while that fight was going on, Hui roamed down bot to try and get a play to actually be executed on, but still wasn't able to find anything. It's a much slower game now than the previous one. They aren't bashing their heads against each other, and it seems like Immortals are just trying to scale, whereas CLG are looking for those opportune moments where they can make those plays.
And here, 15 minutes in, CLG do have a Drake to their name. I think the next Infernal will likely be a big point to look at, but these teams are playing it a little quieter than it was in the first one. It is dead even, more or less here, and that's probably got to be good news for Immortals. They kind of got ahead of themselves there in game number 1. Have to feel confident moving into that mid and late game that they can kind of take over that game.
Yeah, I think a big contributing factor to that as well is that both junglers went for aggressive offensive early moves and got slapped for it, both dying, and that kind of reduces the amount of
let's just farm.
Future, yeah. All right, we're cool. Cool down. As you can see, the lanes are been continually trading very, very often, and that action there has not died down. It's just the jungler is less likely to fully commit to those invades. Nobody's really been able to get deep vision down either, and that makes you a lot more cautious.
And we've been seeing that these lanes, in terms of pressure, can just turn on a dime. When you decide to push, you can push very hard. Everybody is pretty even right now, to the point that, yeah, if Sivir wants to push up, go ahead. If, Kalista says, okay, we want to invade your jungle, go ahead, they push up. And everybody's kind of allowing each other to do that at those moments. And that deep vision, like you said, is not coming out because of these types of opportunities that, well, the other team is recognizing.
Darshan again, nice trade on Huni. I feel like Huni's got a big stack of money to try and spend here. And Infernal Drake's up in 50 seconds. He's going to have to get that in ASAP.
This is what we've all been waiting for. Stand United is level 2 now, level 11 for both top laners. So they are very ready to join. Curious to see what Immortals and Huni decide to do. Is he going to walk down? So he uses his ultimate up to the top side. Now, yes, that is a cool move to try and get some control of the lane. However,
Surprise.
you don't have it for the actual fight.
And now he has Trinity Force in the lane, though, so that's what he's trying to do is press this advantage that he has right now before Darshan gets to back. But like you said, kind of difficult to actually show up to that fight.
The other thing you have to worry about at this point in the game, if one team is committing fully to an Infernal Drake, First Blood is still on the table for the turret. So if that turret goes down, which it will because it's a Trinity Force Echo up there left alone, then you are giving up a lot for that early Infernal Drake.
Uh-oh, Pobelta going to get stained up there by Aprimos. Dixie just going to keep moving in. Pobelta, though, pretty tanky. Is going to live through the first round at about 60% health. Isn't too bad. They actually moved their duel into the mid lane as well to try and pressure that central section of the map to open up space for this Infernal. And Darshan is just taking a beating.
Yeah, and this physical damage from Huni. Oh, he gets the stun!
Oh, that's the good news there. Darshan going to try and get himself out of the way. Huni does pick up the kill. Phase dives onto his face.
Up. Pause comes out here, and it looks like it might be Darshan.
It is on CLG's side. We'll wait until we get some information from the refs. But regardless, that solo kill there from Huni is huge. We've spent the last 2 minutes building up this possible Drake fight, possible first turret gold going down in exchange for it. However, now, big resource removed from CLG as Darshan is dead for 33 more seconds.
Yeah, and because of that, he would get that first turret gold. He would get it solo as well on Huni, which is another 650 gold into his pockets. It's a big lead to have in that lane that you know he wants to just barrel straight through.
Plus, he's got his teleport coming up soon, so he might even be able to answer to another objective on the other side of the map. This is a very big turning point in the game.
I was going to say, the tension in this game, given what we've built up to, is pretty insane. And this next Drake, it feels like a lot of the game does ride on it. Teams are still very close in gold. The models are up, but it's less than 1,000 gold. Doesn't mean too much here as we're moving into this crucial section of the mid game. Kind of everyone's, hitting 1 to 2 items. Everyone's getting to those first early points of power. It does feel like in a lot of these quieter games, the two teams just kind of smack themselves together and eventually have a big mid game team fight. We're about to hit that point, and Immortals, a crucial kill there right before a very untimely pause.
Yeah, I went back to look at it. Darshan was minion blocked by 4 minions on his side and was trying to get out, and that's why he got stunned, because he didn't realize soon enough that he had to start attacking those minions, and that's why he ended up dying there. So it's a pathing issue that's currently paused for, and we'll see what ends up happening.
Well, certainly curious to hear how that develops, but we'll have to find out shortly.
Yeah, regardless, in the current state of the game, there are a couple wards down as well worth going over for Immortals, as they are definitely setting up for this as well. They weren't counting on a solo kill from Huni, but they were laying the groundwork for a possible Drake fight here. You can see in the jungle on CLG side, the fairly deep red wards there are from Reignover by the Raptor Pit, as well as the red buff, so they could see the preparation and get a bead on the early moves of Smithy.
Spirit staying high as well. As a note, players are allowed to talk during this particular pause. The referees have ruled that, so don't worry too much there. Teams just making sure they, keep morale high, keep the conversation flowing, and of course focus on what we've already highlighted as a very pivotal point in this game.
And we're going to actually get a replay in a second.
Try and check that one out.
Yeah, see exactly what happened there. Get the review.
Got to say, I love the flag right behind Turtle's chair. It was great to see him walk in there. Clearly very proud, and it's been a great crowd so far. Turtle wearing the flag with pride. We'll see if he can win one for the home team, I guess.
Yeah, this has been such a big moment, leading up to Toronto for Turtle. When he first heard about it, he was so excited to come here and play in front of all of you, his countrymen.
I have to say, I'm just genuinely happy. We're back to the metric system. It was a weird move.
I thought you were just saying.
It was a weird move to the US. I'm like, everything's different. Country's on the wrong side. It's weird. I'm used to water being on the right, not the left. Coast changed. So Toronto definitely feeling like it's aligned the right way. You guys have been awesome so far. It's been great to see Toronto.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an incredible city. Just walking around. Oh, it's one of those things you think Canada would be a little bit colder, but nope, summertime.
Certainly not right now, because things heating up. You can hear the crowd there.
I believe that's Let's Go Turtle. Maybe?
I mean, Turtle and Toronto,
they're saying
that's
Kobe.
similar now.
No, it's Turtle.
And again, just having a quick look on the inventories right now in this particular game.
Yep. Getting the ready checks as well for the players before they get back in this game.
Might be good to go here. We'll find out shortly. And again, we've talked it up. It's a big Drake to get as well. Infernal's always one you want to have, especially when the teams have been playing it close and do have some good scaling here in these big carries from the bottom and mid lanes. CLG certainly good together. We'll see how they navigate what's a tricky situation, because Huni, he's kind of had the lead he wanted this game here that he couldn't get in game number 1.
Yep, definitely looking at what the bottom lane for CLG will be able to do here, as it is going to rely a lot on their playmaking abilities.
Well, we're back in. Let's go. Drake is up. Immortal's not quite running to the area just yet.
And,
Darshan actually up in only 15 more seconds, and he does have teleport, but the first turret probably will go down.
So this is it right here. Minion blocked. Can't move. It's a normal thing in the game. Talks about pathing issue, and he can't get out of it fast enough, and that's why he gets stunned there. And he wasn't able to get out. Yep. Used his E to get between everything. So he went through the minions' hitboxes and then ended up on the other side of them.
And then back to the regular game. That first turret did go down, and here goes Pobelter.
United looking good. Pobelter getting in a bit of trouble. Raynova going to block them with a body slam. Afro low, but the Stick State's going to rend them all to pieces. Ulti's not enough from Raynova to try and save it, and CLG have Darshan swoop in to try and clean this up. Huni running out where he can. He did make it down. Turtle, he's awfully low. Does die in front of Stick State. Gets himself a triple kill.
CLG do execute the game plan here with the composition that they are running. They do play all those strengths we lined up before the action on the top lane. However, Immortals, Huni made that work count. He got the solo kill, and he also got the first turret blood. So a big amount of gold did go over to Immortals before this, and they're still ahead in gold, even though CLG eventually are able to capitalize on the bottom focus and the Shen stand united. Immortals do take some first.
Exactly. That's why they're still up in gold, the 600, even after the triple kill here. And they're just waiting for Pobelter. They end up trying to pick him off, but it's hard to pick off of Vladimir. Then everybody comes down here.
Right. They go in first for a chunk on Pobelter, and then Pobelter actually goes for the full dive, which is just what they wanted. Stand United comes in. There's the Kalista ultimate right into the Pulverize as well from Alistar. So they locked up Pobelter and took him down first.
And then Huni completed his TP, tried to jump on Aphromu. He locks up Huni and makes sure that he can't get down a Paraloka Convergence, can't get down a stun and try to turn the fight.
And the final kill locked up because Darshan gets that taunt onto Turtle, and CLG were able to clean up some extra gold for themselves. Plus that Infernal Drake. Now Huni's at it again.
I mean, this is Huni. He's got a Tiamat here as Raynova's going to join in. TP in from the mid lane, but CLG's top laner already in a bit of bother. Huni now going to get out of the way. A nice box there as Darshan has to keep cutting it around.
Ray Seeker up!
Smithy's here as well! Oh! Get him, Huni! Snipe back Smithy as Darshan going to turn it on its head. Smithy grabs a double knockup, and CLG can do no wrong.
Also, look at that last team. I see some Tiamat procs there from Huni as he's whacking around on Echo. He's going to build maybe a Titanic Hydra or something. We'll check in on that build later, because CLG just made another huge play there as Smithy able to arrive, and Darshan even walks away from the whole thing.
And CLG get the turret as well and get themselves a gold lead over Immortals at 21 minutes. Right now, CLG are performing these dives correctly. They are actually playing as a full unit, as a team, and they're utilizing their multiple teleports in the roams, whereas Pobelter, opposite side of the map, Vladimir in the bottom lane can't join this fight ever.
Look at this. Okay, so Darshan even missed his taunt, and so Huni wants to... Well, never mind.
Yep.
Another 1v1, baby!
Pobelter going to get rendered slow is there, but Darshan needs to keep chasing. He does ghost his way under the tier 2 turret. He will be safe, but CLG are not pumping any brakes.
Yeah, but right on the side, Turtle found somebody as well, and looks like not going to happen. Adrian able to dissuade Smithy.
I have to say, though, CLG, again, they're going to still focus on the objectives. The turret is very low here. They can stick around and clean that one up as well to add another one. So both side turrets taken from by CLG in the last 2 plays for them. Pretty big momentum. We said this is going to be one of those early and mid-game spiking compositions. They're playing really well to their strength. This is one of the best things for CLG. They've had a lot of focus in-game that follows up on their out-of-game preparation.
And they were waiting for those power spikes to come through, and they didn't pull the trigger too early. They waited for it. You see Rylai's Crystal Scepter, double items here for Huhi and Stixxay, and that's when they're saying, okay, it's time to fight. It's time to actually go after this Vladimir. It's time to actually have these team fights come to fruition, and they've gotten turrets off of it. They've gotten so much map control. And CLG, they've been actually having that map control because they've been shutting down Reignover too.
It is a bit of a surprising thing to see. 2 games in a row, CLG with an early advantage over Immortals. Immortals are the team that a lot of the pro players currently in the North American LCS credit with teaching them how to play quick early games and play quick aggressive games. This is a style that, Immortals as a squad, that's just why they had so much success early on and in the normal season of the LCS.
Yeah, they've established a lot of the meta of the top teams. TSM credits them very heavily for, having these calls where they just go in. I think it was, it sucks to lose, but it sucks even more to lose slowly. And that's been the philosophy of the top 2 teams. But Immortals find themselves in this 3rd place match and down a game and down in gold in game 2 versus CLG because they haven't been able to actually have that type of early aggression that they want.
And it feels like CLG have actually taken up that mantle.
Yeah, that's true.
This was a relatively quiet early and mid game, and CLG are just playing to Immortals' same strength here. They're happy to fight over and over again. They don't have much of a lead, but CLG, they're going to play with it.
Yeah, and even though they are, fighting constantly now, it really is a disciplined choice as you build your strategy around this spike and then playing to it, making that call to pull the trigger on the bottom side of the map and on the top side of the map consecutively. Now, let's see what Immortals can do about it, because Immortals do have Sivir starting to ramp up now. He's got the 2 items. The dream trio of items for Turtle would be to add the Infinity Edge next. And they're looking to try and weather the storm and get to that point, not let CLG run away with this game too quickly.
And CLG can run away with the game, especially with Stixxay, because how are you going to catch this guy later on in the game? It's up to Reignover, and Reignover has been moderately shut down in his jungle so far. Look at this.
Malzahar ulti not enough, but he pulls out from under Afro's headbutt. Gonna stay safe for now. Vladimir, a pretty resilient champion, but CLG trying to knock down this turret.
Yeah, if he can get over to some minions or to a jungle camp to heal up, then it's great for Immortals, because the ultimate is down from Malzahar, from Huhi, and that's one of the biggest teamfight tools that they do have. So now that Pobelter has been able to leech a little bit up, they're backing off, relieving some of the pressure.
Heal on the blue here as well. The Huni grabs it, which I think is where they wanted it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pobelter, though, just going to return down. Huni going to go back. We'll see what Mystery keeps he's building here with the items in just a second. But again, Immortals, certainly a close game here. And Drake up in 20 seconds. It will be Cloud number 2. CLG looking to grab it and maintain that discipline. But Immortals could just bust it open with one big fight.
It will be interesting to see how Immortals handle this, because they do have the opportunity to 1-3-1, especially with Huni going with that extra Tiamat. The wave goes even quicker for him on the Echo, and then he can drop back into Fog of War. As of right now, though, fighting over the mid pass.
Yeah, the problem, though, for Immortals 1-3-1 is that they don't have that second teleport on Pobelter, and if it was answered by Huhi and Darshan, they would be able to get to a fight if it broke out much sooner. So Pobelter, he was left out of a previous fight.
Was that profound? It actually is someone. He knocks him back in. But the dragon goes over. Pobelter actually steals it. And now he's going to move his way back in. Afromu going to get it turned around as Turtle picks one up. Now Huhi, exhausted, getting chased as Huni, just trying to track down Stixxay. Shuts him down. Is Reignover going to get ulted in by Huhi. But Huni, he is never done. And he'll chase down Huhi. Going to get himself towered up. Just Immortals turn this win.
Immortals off to the races. Pobelter steals the Drake and gets to the back line. Takes down Stixxay. And they're going to be able to get the turrets afterwards.
And what do they take off of this? They have a minion wave on the top side on a tier 2 right now. Huni's heading right over there to get even more.
Well, that's Huni, very greedy, but it might pay off here for Immortals. That high pressure that they've always been known for reaps very big rewards, and Huni is a monster. He's going to take out this turret. Immortals 3rd of the game, and CLG are really starting to fall behind now.
And he just picked up this Tiamat for wave clear to try and get a little bit of a faster push on these side lanes so that he can pull off moves like this, push the wave up, show up to these fights, then have it pushing it later on. And that seems to be the logic behind it. And it's also a great item that Huni likes to do damage with.
Let's take a look at the setup for this fight, because Hui's actually in the middle of the mid lane, and Pobelter does get it with the flash there. Alistar actually, or his Smithy was extremely low, so he got chunked out. He wasn't able to participate at all. Really good job there by Immortals, jumping in very quickly on that dragon fight. And CLG very separated. You see there, we zoom out so far, you can see who he's fighting one versus 3 there. He pops the Malzahar ultimate while Smithy, yes, head scratcher there.
Yeah.
Smithy trying to take down that red buff. And CLG give quite a sizable chunk back to Immortals, who, remember, still have this gold lead.
Afro also loses his ultimate, trying to go back in onto Wild Turtle. I think Stixxay was scratching his head because he's not quite sure how he lost to Drake with Kalista on his team.
Yes, the Rend, you wanted that to go off, but loses it over to Pobelter for the Cloud Drake. But also, he didn't really have a ton of peel. Aphromoo didn't have his ultimate up, and he got chunked out, hold him in, and Aphromoo threw himself back in to try and actually buy some time for Stixxay. But they both ended up dying anyway.
Yeah, they didn't have the coordination there. Definitely broke for Counter Logic Gaming, and Immortals went right in. Very decisive team fight for them. Very much luck that they were able to get that dragon. Sometimes when you have too many things and you're trying to coordinate a Kalista Rend with a smite, then you do it a little early and they don't match up. And Pobelter got in there, flashed at the perfect time, able to steal it. Plus the team fight victory. It's such a huge morale boost, and they were already ahead in gold, and now they're feeling very confident.
And the interesting thing here is these teams, their gold, are on the people that they really want them to be on. Huni has 3 kills. You have 3 kills on Turtle, another damage dealer. You would maybe want a little bit more on Pobelter, but you look over CLG, their 2 damage dealers just have everything.
Yeah, I mean, they only have 6 kills. You can't have 3 on Huni, 3 on Turtle, and 3 on Pobelter. You better go earn those first.
2 on everybody? I don't know. Spread them out, Redistribute.
Well, Wild Turtle does have that QSF and the Infinity Edge is coming on the way, so the fact that Huni and Pobelter are looking good and Immortals have even more to play to as the game goes on means that they are sitting pretty despite the lead not being super massive. Darshan trying to fend it off here. Is Pobelter going to get himself ganked? Ran out here for Stixxay, but Pobelter, doesn't care too much.
Yep, that's why. I mean, they are going with that 1-through-1 we're talking about with the Vladimir and the Echo. Split pushing, he absorbs 2 people to the top lane, and Immortals get a turret out of it.
Yep, Huni able to shove the bottom lane up to the Shen, up to under the turret, and then able to threaten this as well. So not able to defend that middle turret because you could get dove if you were CLG.
Next Drake is a mountain, but it'll be 4 or 5 minutes or so till that one's up. Let's see if Immortals actually look to take it in again. CLG still are playing around what they know, which is his objective, and they're trying to get farm into the relevant places. Stixxay doing okay there. He also reasonably defensive with the Rylai's second, but still a strong team fighting item. CLG, kind of like Immortals were before that Drake fight, are kind of one team fight away, but Immortals are a team that usually when they get a lead, do not let it go.
Yeah, and you can see they even itemized 2 QSS already for Immortals, making sure that he doesn't have anything that he could really do against those 2 members, and he'd be able to get out of those CCs. But it's also quite good against a Shen taunt as well.
We will see if the front line of CLG can keep this Vladimir off of Stixxay and off of that back line, because CLG definitely need to have Stixxay getting a lot of those spears in for the team fight victory.
And have to work overtime, just chucking them in. CLG do take down a Scuttlecrab. Baron, which could be the next order of business, at least from the next 10 minutes or so, is kind of an objective the teams can look to play for, but that Drake is up in 1:10, so a little off on my estimate earlier. And Immortal still have plenty of towers up as that.
Oh, Turtle!
Turtle! Oh my god, he barely lives. He flashes out the Ren. It is not enough. Immortals, can they turn it around? Adrian, no QSS is going to wait a little bit of damage out from the ultimate.
Force the flash, but can they get an objective after it? Darshan does have Stand United, but he's on him? Huni.
It's the nightmare match.
Yeah. Oh, here they go, re-engage.
Stixxay wants Adrian. Afro going to go in for a talent out of time for CLG. Stixxay takes one out as Rainover going to re-engage for Pobelter, doing damage when he gets exhausted after the Hemo play. CLG, are they really diving in again? Stands United onto Dashover. Rainover shuts that down. Huni lands his way in, but Stixxay is still alive. Wall of Father working overtime as CLG are standing ground again.
Definitely limping away here for Immortals. Can they leech enough off of the Raptor camp? Everyone fighting for the health that you can gain back. Rainover claims the big one, and they're going to try and hold the turret.
Yeah, if Huni backs, though, he will have something available, but no, he doesn't go back for a TP play. Instead, sticks around because they don't want to lose this turret, but the defense might be in vain.
Darshan again, Great Spirits Refugees soaking so much damage. Ulti to Rainover. Darshan barely creeps away. There's the kill. Andy Carrot's going nuts. It's still the Wild Turtle goes.
It walked next to Turtle. He gave the turret. Yeah, he should be alive still. He's fine, but not optimal. But I have to say, the Huni right there, he got locked up before he could get his ultimate off on Echo and almost went down. Turns out, Turtle is the sole survivor.
Look at the Canada buff. Is Turtle going to push his way forward? Adrian finally here to help him out. And Immortals may break mid here with Turtle's triple kill.
And it's got to feel great. 6-1 and 3 for Wild Turtle on home turf.
Canada's own gets the inhibitor kill as well for Immortals as CLG start to respawn.
He had gotten the Infinity Edge before that fight had started and got multiple crits across people. And Pobelter, big part of that fight as well, staying alive for as long as he could. His pool actually kills some people, and he has the Tides of Blood while he's in it, and that's when the dive goes through. Here comes Huhi, uses the ultimate onto Rainover, so he's locked up, everybody groups, Pobelter flash in, uses Tides of Blood. This actually does percent of your own HP damage, and he's able to distract them. Everybody is waiting for that Vladimir to pop up, so Wild Turtle gets tons of crits.
Oh, we're back to a Baron fight here. It's at 3,000 HP and dropping.
CLG went a little desperate. Huni going to get ulted up by Malzahar, but I don't think that's where they want to be. CLG needs to line up battle lines, but Huni going to break them in two. Malzahar already going to fall, and Turtle going to look to play clean up again. Parallel convergence is great, and IMT just zoning him out of the fight. Rek'Sai goes down as Turtle picks up one. Immortal still fighting forward as Pobelter soaks up so much. Darshan makes his way back in, and 6A is trying to kite with a lifeline for more, but Darshan finally falls down. Aphro's going to go down as well, and Immortals, another ace on CLG.
And it's a clean ace as well for Immortals.
Oh my goodness, they're running for the second inhibitor turret as well. Immortals are looking to end this one.
They have a minion wave as well, and they're going to push. It's already got a super minion.
Just like that, so quick. Back-to-back teamfight victories, and they are going to the Nexus.
Immortals going to take this one down. We got a series. Immortals prove that when push cuts to shove, this team shoves hard. And that man on your screen, Wild Turtle, feels like sometimes he's overshadowed by the stars on his team. Pobelter's had a great season. Huni always looks good, and Rainover is a monster. But not here in Toronto. Turtle proves, when I go off, I go big.
8-1 and 5 for Wild Turtle. A fight at the opportune timing as well for his items to come through. And then his team really backing him up there in those fights. Pobelter took a lot of that aggression.
They really showed why the Vladimir-Sivir combo is so feared and very rarely gets through Champion Select.
Gets him off the karma, back into a bit of comfort there with the Vladimir. And what a ridiculous game from Immortals. CLG were fighting again, and it felt like it was going to be the same story, but Immortals prove again that, hang on, we're actually still pretty good at team fighting as well, and they take it straight to CLG.
And we talked about in the first game, Immortals style. They don't care if they're behind. They're going to keep trying to win these team fights, and when they do, they can end the game off of them. We saw 2 back-to-back. Game didn't look like it was going to end just yet, but immediately, all it takes is 10 kills later, I guess.
Well, we have a series now at the dust stand at 1-1, so let's send it back to Riv and the analysts.
Thank you, guys. And looking at this one, definitely turned itself on its head after a few minutes. In comparison, I was writing something down, 620, 650, 824, 945 in the first game. This one was much slower. We saw Xmithy go down 8 minutes, and then 925, and then nothing popped off until 19 minutes. And we were talking about how Immortals loves to play fast, but they took this one slow.
Well, it's got to do with the draft. I mean, when you give away Vladimir and Sivir, all you got to do, wait 20 minutes, you win every fight. And that's what happened. The early game, I'd say, went a little bit of CLG's way, barring some unfortunate mistakes that happened. But ultimately, Vlad Sivir, our time, and then you just win a fight.
Our time. I honestly don't understand what the draft was from CLG, because you see that Immortals banned Sivir Vlad in game 1, and then game 2 they just hand him over first rotation red side to Immortals again. And I understand they want to counterpick the Sivir with the Callista, but you can take the Vlad first, and then you don't give him this ridiculous combo, which is just what kind of tore them apart in a number of these team fights.
It did, but to be fair, I mean, the game was pretty darn well for CLG, and I think a lot of the credit actually has to go to Huni. I think Huni actually got a lot of work done. If you look at the amount of damage he was able to put out in these fights, he was a split push monster. He got ahead of Darshan with the kill. He takes first blood turret gold, and that really propelled him into the situation where he's taking objectives off the map consistently for the team, and he was able to be a big playmaker in these. And he actually did almost double the damage that Pobelter did, about double the damage of this Vladimir. So a lot of it was actually on the Echo, and I think had he not shown up so big, I think that CLG actually could have done pretty well here.
I do think you have to give Huni a lot of props for his play in the laning phase, but when you look at a number of the team fights, it's off the back of Pobelter getting like huge ults or a massive E combo off. The one at Dragon was a great example.
It brings us to our first replay here, 25-20 in, and I remember you saying Pobelter just went ham.
And he's going to be coming in from the blue side, ghosting into this fight where Afram is going for a little bit of a greedy engage. He shouldn't be trying to blow everything onto the Gragas after you've secured the Dragon. But Pobelter, watch what he does. Flashes in right away, and as soon as his 3-man ultimate is going to come in, the fight is won.
I mean, to me, though, yes, this is a great play from Pobelter, but it's capitalizing on really poor play from CLG.
Yeah,
this was an awful fight from CLG. Aframu walks up with no ultimate. He just wanders into the bush. He initiates on someone that's basically 0-3. It's not even an important target. And then they blow Malzahar on the 0-3 Gragas as well. And it's like then the carries get run rampant. So, to me, this was much more of a CLG mistake than something to do where Pobelter really like crushed on the Vladimir. Right. And I think that this was the key fight in the game where CLG was doing so well. Stixxay got a really good start off that bot lane fight, and I think had this not gone so poorly, had they not kind of overextended and chosen this poor fight, I think the game could have looked massively different.
And I've been in this situation so much where you're doing so well, and then you have your plan set out. We're going to go for the Dragon. I mean, because the game is in your hands, you feel like you can do anything, and you feel like you can go and get that pick on the Gragas, where it's just a vast mistake, and it gets punished immediately.
Right, and I think it is true that was a big mistake by this CLG team, but there's not as many mids that can punish you so hard as the Vladimir, and like, oh, we over-engaged, and now we're all clumped up running away. Vladimir thrives there because he's able to jump on top of you and just sit on your team as you're trying to run away. He gets the puddle down, hit his pool, and you're just like, all right, well, we'll get slowed and get a ton of AoE damage.
And this one was much different for Counterlogic Gaming coming through, continuously trying to find that Vladimir, get kills in the bot lane. Pobelter would walk away, chuckle to himself. Again at the top, again in mid, and that brings us then to our 31-30, the ace that happens, and it just showed Immortals was slowly throwing the snowball.
And this is another very aggressive play here from CLG, and it was the slimmest of margins that makes this go wrong. Is Darshan sees an opportunity, he taunts forward onto Huhi, but Huhi's able to get out. He doesn't die off right away, and that is critical because then they're able to pile in.
I do think it's a mistake also to blow the Vladimir ult onto Reignover. You could have held that, or the Malzahar ult, right? Because then it allows Pobelter to go free into your team.
Which was both the fights, right? And that's why Malzahar is usually considered a pretty good matchup into Vladimir, because you have the silence, because you have this hard lockdown. If you can kill off Vladimir before he can get the pool off, before he can get the Zonians off and stuff, you can't get those multiple rotations of spells. It's a pretty big
I think
deal.
that fight towards the end was just 3K down for CLG. You have the objective, and it's reminiscent of the Dragon one. You have the objective. You've secured what you're looking for. They keep pushing for more in a position where they're unable to capitalize. As you saw, it's so hard for Rexa to actually do anything if she's not burrowed form. And you can see how quickly they snowballed this game out of control. It's, I believe, under 10 minutes since they got the lead back, and game's over.
Right. I mean, you hear a 33-minute game, you usually think destruction, but it's like, nope, that was close until 30 minutes, and then boom, over.
It was really, really close, and both those fights were ridiculously close. It's like one more auto, someone dies. There was the mid lane fight as well, where Vladimir gets out with like one tick of health with Malzahar on.
Yeah, the whole game was a number of those close fights, and it always seems like Immortals comes out on top. And game one was also pretty close like that, except they were down too much gold.
Well, going into this game, moving forward, it is IMT that picks red, so they stay on red. We were talking about the pick bans. It seems like they really favor that last counter pick.
Well, they might be thinking maybe CLG is going to give us Vladimir and Sivir for free once again. Unlikely, but I do want to see Immortals have a better answer for Shen. In their previous series against Cloud9, 5 times they banned Shen. Never let Impact have it a single time. Here, you let it go through twice, and before they took over this game, they were struggling with Shen because they keep making plays towards the dual lane. Vladimir, Pobelter going for a solo 1v2, gets Shen ulted, and that's where the lead came from CLG. So we're seeing a lot of mistakes happening, and if Huni had not gotten that solo kill onto Shen, this might have been a wildly different game.
The thing that concerns me, though, is what is Immortals going to drop for that ban? I think you want the Bard, the GP, and the Gnar, because otherwise Darshan's just going to first pick the Gnar, and you're going to have to counterpick with Echo or something like that. And I think it's hard to really get a bad matchup for Darshan on the red side. I think that's what's kind of concerning for me.
Isaac, any changes you'd like to see coming into Game 3, or are we good to go?
I think it's tough. I honestly think that although comps matter a lot, it comes down to the team's play. Game 1, CLG was the one coming out on top with the slimmest of margins. In Game 2, it was Immortals coming out on top in these really close fights. So I just want to see more good play, more good games.
Let's see it already. One of these teams will take the series lead when we come back from break. Don't go anywhere. The third place match continues live from Toronto right after this.
game number 2. CLG up 1. Immortals, can they answer back? It looks like a blue buff steal's going to go awry here for Rainover. Eats the ult, get that from Malzahar, and see ya, Sunshine. That's Hui with a kill. CLG have Darshan swoop in to try and clean this up. Huni running out where he can. He did make it down. Turtle, he's awfully low. Does die in front of Stixay. Gets himself a triple kill.
That's right, baby. That's right.
Nash.
I ulted him.
He's dead.
Marzal is ulting me.
Another one. Listen, ulti. Listen, no flash. I'm getting Mal.
Marzal no ulti.
I got it.
Yeah, nice.
Finally falls down. Afromu's going to go down as well. And Immortals, another ace on CLG.
And it's a clean ace as well.
Immortals prove that when push comes to shove, this team shoves hard.